Well, I guess without any further ado, let's bring out the main man, Gregg Clark, the legend. How are you, sir?
Doing good. Doing good.
Well, let's start off with a question if somebody's got one. I know from what I saw when everybody came in, there was plenty of people that had some questions. Anyone?
Sure.
There we go. This lovely lady over here has one. Here.
What was the very first song that you learned on the guitar, and why did you choose that one?
Actually, it was probably Little Black Egg. But the first, what I would call real song I learned was House of the Rising Sun. And that had some chord changes and everything. And it was actually a song, you know, and not just a lick. So as far as I can remember, that was it. Now, you know, I took a few lessons from my cousin John Regensburg, of course, and he was the earliest influence, and he had an instrumental version of that song Patches, about down in the coal yard or whatever. But anyway, he taught me that too, and I was about 9 years old at the time. Anyway, just went on from there. I did take lessons from Del Cox at Norris Music too, way back, pretty early on, and he taught me some pretty sophisticated songs, I guess you could say, some kind of Henry Mancini tunes and stuff like that, you know, stuff I hated. Anyway, it just went on from there. You know?
Thanks.
Mm-hmm. There's another question.
So who was the most influential musician you ever met?
I would say, as far as influential on me or influential on the music world?
On you.
On me, it would be, Cousin John would be right up there. He would be just about it. The most influential on the music world, and me, of course, was B.B. King. I met him a couple of times, and one time I went to music hall to hear him play, and I actually had a song I had written, and I was determined, you know, to get back to see B.B. and give him this song and let him hear it, you know, because it was perfect for him, I believed. It was a slow blues ballad in a minor key, and it was sort of like Thrill Is Gone, you know, but not too much like Thrill Is Gone. So anyway, I waited around the stage door, and Deb was with me, and she'd worked a 12-hour shift or whatever, and she was sleeping against the wall, you know, by the stage door. And James and Deb will tell you, if you go to a concert with me or a blues festival or anything, you're going to be staying, you know, until the end. All the encores are over, and you might have to go hang out by the tour bus and stuff like that, because I'm a music fan at heart. But finally I got in to meet B.B. King, and there weren't too many people there, really. And anyway, I went up and got an autograph and everything, and I had my little package, and I said, Mr. King, you know, I have this song, you know, and it's a hit, I know it, and you're the one that should record this song. And he looks at me and he goes, you know, his voice is like the voice of God or something. Even when he speaks, and you know, he goes, He says, well, I'm not going to take your song and listen to it. And let me tell you why. And he says, have a seat. And so I sat down at the table, you know, and I'm sitting there thinking, you know, you can tell me anything you want. You know, he says, I'm working on my 75th album, and this was a lot of years ago. And it's going to be all original, and my management company does not want me to listen to anybody else's stuff right now. Because my good buddies Mick Jagger and Keith Richards got themselves in a big mess right now. He said they listened to some guy's demo, and then they went on and wrote a song that sounded a little bit like it, and now they're getting sued for millions of dollars. And so I can't really take your song. And he said, but listen, let me give you the address of my management company. And he took the time, because he knew I was a working musician and everything. And he gave me the address, Saul Silverman in New York or whatever. And so anyway, it was just so cool that he would be willing, he didn't brush me off, and he was the most gracious person in the world. And, I was sitting there at the table, and these other people coming up for autographs and stuff, and I was like, hey, me and B are trying to work something out here. Could you cool it? But anyway, that was one of the more thrilling musicians, I've ever met. And of course, he's been an idol. He's influenced every guitar player that ever picked up an electric guitar. So.
Anyone else? Of course, I got questions. Now, I'll ask one. What about the picture that I saw? Now, this picture I saw online, it said that it was you and your dad, and he was holding a guitar. Is that true?
No, that was a mistake, actually.
I was wondering, because you were talking about...
That was me and my son, James. And we were down by the creek, Browns Run, jamming, I guess. And James would have been like 3 at the time. And so he's here tonight. He still likes me and everything. James he and Deb have always been able to kind of keep a handle on me as far as his music career and everything. And he's always said some pretty cool things as a kid, not intending to mean anything by it, but one time I was doing a promotion on WOXY for Blue Christmas, and I got to play a song on the radio, and they taped it, and they were going to run the show the next morning. And I was taking him to school at Post-Town Elementary, and he was real little, and I said, hey, I'm going to be playing on the radio, and we might hear it on the way to school. And so we turned it on at OXY, and they played it, and it was me playing and singing on the radio. I said, what do you think of that? That's pretty cool, isn't it? He goes, well, it started. And I said, what do you mean? What started? He goes, well, I guess you're going to be famous now. Just like, this is another thing I'm going to have to deal with. And then later on, when he got a little older, we were talking about it, he said, yeah, he thought he would grow up, be one of those showbiz kids, a bunch of issues, become a crack addict and everything. But I'm so glad that didn't happen to him.
Anybody else? Gotta be questions. There we go. Young lady here.
What's the furthest you've ever played from home?
Let's see. Well, the Royal Blues got this gig in Seattle one time, and Kenny's here, and he can vouch for us. But
It happened.
it did happen. We played a corporate gig down at Cincinnati Convention Center, and we did a good job for him and everything. And the guy that put it on came up, and he was real drunk afterwards. He had his arm around me, and you guys did the best job, and I'm gonna bring you out to Seattle next year. And I'm like, yeah, right, fine, give me a call. Well, the next year rolled around, he called me and had me write up a proposal, to play this gig, and we all got separate suites downtown for 4 nights, and had the gear rented, and round trip airfare, and really good pay. It's like it should be all the time, but it never is. And then we did a good job out there, and the guy comes up and he says, well, I'm gonna bring you guys to New Orleans next year for the thing. And I was thinking, man, if you are stupid enough to hire a band from Middletown, Ohio to play in New Orleans, but he didn't do that. So, I did take my acoustic guitar over to Paris with me, which was pretty stupid, but I did play, a little street gig over there and jam with some guys over there. But I had to drag that guitar all over Europe with me, which was a pain in the ass, but anyway.
They make you check it?
Well, I did check it, and that wasn't very smart. It had 3 cracks in it when I left, and had about 9 when I came back. So, it's this guitar, so I'm still playing it.
Mr. Clark,
Yes.
me being a vet, I don't know if I should stand up, but probably should stand up and salute you. If you all seen his picture on Admiral Clark, was that who it was? On Facebook, where you said a slight resemblance.
Oh, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Hey, what
It's Neil
what
Gregg.
did you tell Jumpin' Jimmy? That's what you asked me. What did you tell him when you first walked down there, when you guys went down there and won a blues thing, come in second, third or something? What did you tell him when he says, Dad, what happens if I break a string?
I don't really recall talking about that. Did I tell you some story about that?
No, but it could happen.
Oh, okay.
This is your night, man. I'm just getting it all out of the closet right
Okay.
now.
Well, if you break a string, just keep playing. I'll put it that way. But I will say this. We had a great time. We did win the Cincinnati Blues Challenge. And Kenny and I won it too. And went to Memphis, play on Beale Street. But, doing it with your son was pretty special for me. And not with your son, with my son. I didn't do it with your son. But anyway, it was cool. We got down there and everything. And we had made a little CD, 5-song EP, and submitted it for the competition and everything. And when we got down there, I remember walking down Beale Street, and all the neon lights were on, and there were hundreds of people out in the street, and we were scheduled to play at the Handy's Blues Hall, and I heard this blues playing, coming from somewhere, and it kept getting louder, and it was coming from Handy's Blues Hall, and they had speakers up on the roof aimed out towards the street, and it was our CD playing on it. It's a pretty cool feeling at that moment, just the history and everything down there. But we got bumped out of the competition by this gal, Eden Brent, and she was a piano player, and she played kind of like Dr. John, and she sang kind of like Billie Holiday, and she was real hot looking and everything. And, if you like that sort of thing, I guess, But anyway, she went on. She bumped us out and went on to win the whole thing. So I always told James it's possible we came in second. They don't tell you, or give you a scoreboard or anything. But it was a lot of fun, and she went on to tour America and have her albums on the radio, and we came back to Middletown.
Greg, I got a question here for you. What name of your first band and your first gig?
First band, the Crescents, and we were in 6th grade at Wilson School, and Dave Harrison is sitting right here, and he was in the Crescents. And, we played. It was Dave, me, Gregg Stein, and Billy Widener, and we played like Who songs, and we tried to play Beatles songs, and we did some. I think we did a Righteous Brothers song, You Can't Sit Down. We played at Wilson School in a classroom. Then we played at an assembly, and they let us play Louie Louie, I think. And then our first paying gig ever was at a party in Oxford, and we made $12 for the whole band. And made $3 a piece. And big money back in the day. Yeah. And then we played at the Skateway roller rink. That was the biggest gig. I remember for those earlier gigs, I had bought a plastic microphone at Richie's Pawn Shop, and the only reason I bought it, it had the same kind of plug as my guitar cord, so I could just plug it in the other input of my amp, which sounded great. And anyway, by the time we got to the Skateway, I remember we had a metal microphone. And so we were moving up, and anyway, it was 6th grade. Yeah. And then I went on to join the Living End after that. That was the most formative band, and the biggest influence was the Intruders, and the Intruders had 5 guys, a keyboard, 2 guitars, bass, and drums, and so we had 5 guys, a keyboard, 2 guitars, bass, and drums, and they would let us play their breaks sometimes at the country club dances and everything. But our biggest break was Sweeney's older sister was in a sorority at UD, and by the time I was 15 or so, I was playing sorority parties in Dayton, and I was thinking, this must be what heaven's like. And the word got around, and then we started playing the frats up there, and then it got around to the other chapters, and we started playing Oxford fraternities too. And those were some pretty wild parties. My parents used to drive me there. And I was mortified, but they should have come and driven me home. It would have been the logical thing to do. But then somehow we got a gig at the Boar's Head, and I remember I was only like 15, and I think Lonnie Carpenter got us the gig somehow. I don't know how. But anyway, I had to sneak in. I didn't have a fake ID or anything, so I had to sneak in the back door with the gear. And, I was setting up my amp, and I had a Fender Deluxe Reverb and a Fender Mustang. And we were setting up big stage, spotlights and everything, and I thought, you know, this is the real deal. You know, we have made it. But then I see the manager. He's walking over toward me, and I don't have an ID, you know, and I was scared to death. I thought it was all over. And he walks up. He goes, "What kind of beer are you drinking?" I said, I'll have a Stroh's. And then I was in, you know, it was just like everything was perfect, you know. But that Living In was really my formative band where I developed my electric guitar style. And there were a few albums that came out around that time that were just, you know, monumental. Disraeli Gears by the Cream, and Hendrix, Are You Experienced? And Brad Sutton, our keyboard player, had a brother. He lived in New York or somewhere, and he had gone to New York, and he brought back those two albums before they were being played on the radio or anything here, because they used to be the coasts, you know, got everything first. And so we learned Sunshine, Your Love, and Foxy Lady before they were on the radio here. And we played them at the Y Dance, I remember. And we played them terrible. I mean, you know. Had Pat McConaughey doing a Ginger Baker drum part, you know. But anyway, and another album that influenced me heavily right then, at that time, was that Electric Flag album that came out a long time coming. There were two guitar solos on that album. One was Killin' Floor. And I sat, like Fred was talking about during his night, I sat with the turntable and the, you know, the needle back and forth and trying to learn that lead in Killin' Floor. And, you know, gradually I learned most of it, but some of those Mike Bloomfield licks, you know, you just can't really learn them. And, but I finally learned most of it. And the other song on that album was that Another Country, where they have that big breakdown, and then it has this real jazzy part in the middle. And it's in something called the Dorian mode, and I couldn't even pick it out. It was too hard. And Brad Sutton, the keyboard player, he was our Paul Goodwin, you know. And he was a better guitar player than me or Sweeney, but he played keyboards. But, you know, that's just the way it was. He picked that whole solo out and taught it to me. And so between those two, I started realizing I could use just little sections of those Bloomfield solos whenever I wanted to and mix it up, you know, and it really, I lived for years playing Killin' Floor and the Dorian mode. And it's you know, it's the Dorian mode is like when you play a G major scale against an A minor chord, or if you're playing a B minor chord, you play an A major scale. Whatever the note down from the minor you're in, it fits perfectly. And you can make it work for blues, but not too many guys do that. But I started doing that, and that kind of became my deal. You know? It's kind of the basis for my chops. Anyway, that was a long story. Sorry.
That's what we're here for.
Okay.
Yes. Anybody else have a question? Here we go in the back.
Hi.
I was wondering, what's your musical guilty pleasure? Like you hear it in the car and you turn it up and you sing along, but you're not really proud of it?
Maybe Wild Thing. I always sang along with that. That's a good question, and I might have to give that, yeah, yeah. Well, I like some Carpenter songs, I won't lie to you. Hardcore guitar man that I am, I'll sing along to a schmaltzy love song every now and again, so.
Anyone else? Here we go.
Greg, I just wanted to say a few words about you being a legend.
Oh,
And with appreciation, you have given so much to those who have so little with your charity work at the Years of Blue Christmas Hope House donations. But you have also given so much to those of us who know you and have been lucky enough to enjoy your talent and your gifts through the years. We are always richer in the moment of your performances by the unspoken power of your music, the universal language that resonates as you strum your guitar strings, heightens the vibration of our heart chords.
thank you, Susan.
Very nice. Anybody else?
I've been thanked a lot, for the Blue Christmas stuff for years and years. And, I'm happy that Chuck Evans is still trying to make that happen. I hope it can be kind of revived and renewed and everything. But I've been thanked over and over for that. Another little James story. I'm not, being biased here or anything, but I did get a proclamation from the city, for the Blue Christmas work that I did and everything, and I thought, well, I'll take my son down and he can be proud of his dad and everything, and we went to the city commission meeting. David Schiavone read this big proclamation, about January 8th is Gregg Clark's Day. And, you guys didn't know that? Well, it was supposed to be like for that one day, but as far as I'm concerned, it's an annual national holiday, and so. You can keep that in mind, in January, but anyway, it's also Elvis's birthday, ties in, I don't know. But on the way home in the car, again, James is like, well, so you got a day now? And I was like, yeah, I got a day, pretty cool. And he goes, so are they gonna put it on the calendar like Groundhog's Day? and I said, well, it's not a big a deal of Groundhog. Maybe a parade would be nice. Sorry, James.
Well, for the people that don't know, how did you start that charity? How did that begin? Like what got started on that charity?
Well, Kenny was heavily involved too at the beginning, and what happened was, we ran across a friend who had been staying at Hope House with her 2 kids, and she'd been living in her car before that. So And it just kind of blew my mind, this person would need a homeless shelter at all, so. All the musicians were responsible for it, and it just, we had it at the Sorg Opera House the first 2 years, and moved it over to the Manchester ballroom, but you know, it's just something we wanted to do, give back to the community. And, anyway, there's that old joke, you know, what you call a musician that breaks up with his girlfriend, homeless. So, I guess we could all relate, you know, to being that way. The first year wasn't the biggest, really, but yeah, I think there was like 720 people there at the ballroom, but the first year maybe was 250, something like that.
Anyone else? Here we go.
Who was your favorite performer at those Blues Christmas that came from out of town? That's tough. It's tough.
Yeah, that's a tough call. I really like that Willie Kent that came from Chicago, and he was just a real working blues band from Chicago. Gosh, I don't know. Of course, Deb surprised me that one year with a birthday cake, and they were supposed to sing Happy Birthday to Pygmeat Jarrett, who was turning 95. But then they surprised me and sang Happy Birthday to both of us. And brought out this big cake with a bunch of candles on it, and that actually kind of created a little bond between me and him, and he hired me to play in his band for the last year of his life, which was really cool. He had played since, you know, before Prohibition, you know. It was insane, you know. The guy was American history walking. So he's a favorite.
Anyone else? Questions?
You're off the hook, Gregg.
All right.
I want to know everything about you.
No.
Are you scared?
I am very scared. I know well enough to be so. That's probably all of them. Yeah. Wanted to play and just couldn't play. There's a bunch of those. Yeah, I've got them all down. There's too many to even comprehend. Yeah. One thing with all these guys in the crowd here that I played with is, you know, one of my secrets is I always try to hook up with really good musicians to play with. And they're in here, Daryl, Fred, Kenny Ray, Paul, the strum ladies back there. And that's Harry. Yeah. Because you can always, you know, learn something from them, and it makes you look good too. So that's been my secret. And anyway, I remember playing with Fred for a lot of years, and we had a formula where I'd play a lead like for 5 minutes, and he'd just go straight into the next lead for about 10 minutes, you know. And we had this one fan, and he always said, man, you guys are the best blues band. When you play guitar, you go wild, and Fred goes wilder. And I was like, yeah, that's pretty much the deal. I'm wild, he's wilder, you know. And we did that, you know, for years, and that's what's fun. Me and Daryl, we have a blast playing together, because, you know, when somebody you can play off of, and you're listening to each other, and you play together so long, you kind of know what the other one's going to do. That's when the fun starts and the magic happens.
Is that your main guitar that you always use, or do you use a couple different ones?
I've got some different ones. Yeah, this is the old one. You know, Dad bought it for me. He bought it in 1966, which is a real generous gift considering I was only 2 years old at the time. But anyway.
Well, Gibson too. He was
Yeah.
thinking highly of you.
Gregg, when you were a kid and you first started playing the guitar, how did your parents respond to it? And did you feel like you wanted to perform for your dad or your mom, or were they just, was there anybody else in the family that had been a musician besides John?
Well, he was the main one, and I'd go over listen to him and Paul practice at Sarah Lean's, my aunt, you know, and I honestly think if my mom would have known what was going to start, she would have kept me home, you know, never let me do it. But my dad played, he was a bass player, and he played piano. You know, he had this repertory of like 15 songs that when he just felt like it, he'd go sit down and play them all. And I never taped it. And it's one of the big regrets of my life, not having those. But anyway, so he was musical. But they didn't want me to rock and roll too much. Not too much, but there's just nothing you could do about it. You know?
Whatever happened to Brad Sutton?
Whatever happened to him? He's living down south in, I think he's living in Georgia, and I'm not in touch with him, but he still plays music. I know that. I heard through a mutual friend. But he was a phenomenal keyboard player.
Anybody else? Question? Anybody?
Hey, Gregg, I don't know who it was, but down there on the other side of the airport where they had the Fisherman's Club or Fireman's Club, or
Yeah.
were you in the living in that time when you guys come in and played for our senior high Y party?
If it was the Live It In, I was in it.
O'Neill was in that one, I believe.
Yeah, that's the one, yeah.
Toilets overflow, cops are on the way, looked like one of the cartoons where everybody was shoving out the window, out the back door, and everything else.
Yeah,
And we were having a good time, don't get me wrong.
sounds vaguely familiar.
Somebody wanted to go over there and steal the lights over there at the airport. I don't know if whoever it was would go over there. I'm not going to mention any names, but one of them was drunk laying up under the car in the front, drinking out of that big tub of water. So that was your band?
Yes, it was. Guilty as charged.
We're still proud of you, Ray.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Wes. Thank you very much.
Oh, man. The toilets overflowed. The band was standing right there, and there was beer and water about right there. Looked like the surf was coming in.
Anybody else have a question? Here we go.
Hey, Greg, can you talk a little bit about your jazz thing with Cal and I think you took some lessons, a lesson from Joe Pass. And,
Yeah.
yeah, can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, there was a period of time, you know, when I wanted to be a jazz guitarist, and I was following John's lead again, you know, and he took lessons from Cal Collins over in Hamilton, Me House Music, and Cal, he was, you know, he's a world-class jazz player. He's no longer with us, and neither is Joe Pass. But anyway, I decided that's what I wanted to be, and I learned a lot, but I could never really devote everything to jazz. It's too hard for one thing. So, and for another, you know, I do like vocals a lot, and there was a time when, you know, I'd be more into an instrumental version of a Beatles song than the original, you know. But you know, that sort of came and went. But the good thing was, you know, I could take the elements that I learned and use it in blues and even rock, and I still play what might be considered a little jazz, but you know, I hear guys all the time, like even last Saturday, that make me realize otherwise, you know, that. But anyway, Cal, you know, we used to go and hear him, and it was such a joy, and I really miss the fact that you can't go hear him play somewhere right now. We used to go to the Bismarck Supper Club and all these hip places, you know. It was really cool, and he lived the lifestyle, you know. He never used a music stand except for a set of, you know, shot of Grand Marnier and a Heineken on it, you know, and that's what he did. And I'd show up for my lessons some Saturday mornings and think, well, where's Cal, you know, and then I'd turn on the light for the little studio room, and he'd be on the floor, you know, passed out. And I'd say, well, man, it's cool, you don't have to, you go, no, just let me get some coffee. And give me a lesson, you know. And he played with Benny Goodman all over the world and everything, and there he was, you know, lying on the floor. But anyway, he lived a hard life. But Joe Pass, I just took one lesson from him, and sweating bullets the whole time.
Anyone else?
Oh, Joe Pass. Well, I'll tell it. I went to Jilly's to hear him play, and you know, Joe Pass is one of the greatest guitar players ever. And anyway, he went on break, and I went over just to kind of approach him, see if I could just shake his hand or whatever. And this guy was real drunk, and he was like, Joe, give me a lesson, man. I want to take a lesson from you. And I was like, oh, what a jerk, you know. And then Joe says, okay, here's my number, call me tomorrow. And so I said, well, I can be a jerk too. Here's, you know, and I asked him I would have never in a million years asked him for a lesson, but I did, and he said, okay, and I went. And he, you know, he was bored on the road in a hotel, and you know, so he spent like 2 hours with me or more, and you know, $30, and I still got the little notations on the Stouffer's tablet, you know, in the room, and you know, I asked him you know, at the end, what do you think about my prospects for being a jazz player? And because, well, at least you're trying to learn some good tunes. And I was like, well, okay. Thank you. So,
Anyone else? We probably got time for one or two more. Anybody? I'm gonna turn it over to you and let you play then. How's that?
sounds good to me.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks for going easy on me.
That wasn't too bad.
I'm going to play the solo to Killing Floor. It's kind of like. It's just something like that. I pretty much made a career out of that. And the Dorian mode, let me show you what that is. You remember this little part in another country? And then you play the G minor scale. You know, Fred and Daryl heard me do that lick so many times. But anyway, it works, you know. And you can be a legend too. Just start working on those. Those two things. That's it. You're done. 6:30 in the morning, you're rolling in again. 6:30 in the morning, rolling in again. Don't have to ask you, baby, I know just where you've been. You've been out drinking and carousing, some of your so-called friends. Been out drinking and carousing, some of your so-called friends. You said you'd be home early, well, I know just what that meant. 6:30 in the morning, 6:30 in the morning, 6:30 in the morning, 6:30 in the morning. 6:30 in the morning, and you're rolling in again. drinking and carousing. Some of your so-called friends are drinking and carousing. Some of your so-called friends, well, you said you'd be home early. Well, I know just what that meant. 6:30 in the morning. 6:30 in the morning. 6:30 in the morning. 6:30 in the morning. 6:30 in the morning, and you're rolling in again.
Thank you.
Got to get my capo out. That's something that Cal Collins would never use. Bear with me for a second. The strum lords will tell you I can never find my freaking capo. This is a song James and I played down at Beale Street. And my gal Deborah Banks wrote the lyrics to this. It's an award-winning song because we won the Cincinnati Blues Challenge. Every time I hear the thunder, a gray and cloudy day, sit right down and start to wonder, my blues are here to stay. Matter if I whisper, if I cry out loud, and blues they pour down on me like a rain-filled cloud. Blues, 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 rain down on me. Yeah, the blues are waiting for me right outside my front door. Like a wind blows right through me till I can't take any more, no. Don't matter if I whisper, if I scream and shout, and blues they pour down on me like a rain-filled cloud. Blues, 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 rain down on me. I knew what I try to say. My mind is stuck on you ever since you went away, yeah. When you left, you took my life. Really don't seem right. All I got are cloudy days and long, dark, stormy nights. Blues, 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 rain down on me. Yeah, blues, 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 rain down on me. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you. Here's the song I tried to give to B.B. King. Kind of needs a sax solo, but you walk to my side, the sparkle in your eye caught the sorrow in my soul, and your tenderness within seemed like a dream. Has it been that long ago? Well, you and I both know you said you had to go, and the choice was up to you. But since that time I find my eyes are open wide, and I learned a thing or two. Hearts that hurt, hearts that cry, without ever knowing why. Hearts that hurt, hearts that cry, when it's time to say goodbye. Well, you move so easy, put a smile on everybody's face, while I stand here paralyzed since my fall from grace. And the words all over town, tears are falling from my eyes. What it matters to you, darling, I think I finally realized. Hearts that hurt, hearts that cry, without ever knowing why. Hearts that hurt, hearts that cry, when it's time to say goodbye. From my eyes, my connection to you, darling, I think I hearts that cry when it's time to say goodbye. It's time to say goodbye. But it's time to say goodbye.
Thank you. I haven't sung that one in a while.
DB don't know what he missed.
Yeah, his loss. You know, I think that's
Jones couldn't have sung that anyway, Gregg.
This is just a little shuffle about a joint that Royal Blues used to play down in northern Kentucky, Lucille's.
Yeah.
You remember Lucille's? Well, I'm going down to Kentucky, down round Taylor Mill. Going down to Kentucky, down round Taylor Mill. I'm heading south through Cincinnati to see a gal they call Lucille. Yeah, she hangs out in the blues club, loves every redneck man she meets. Yeah, she hangs out in the blues club, loves every redneck man she meets. When she stepped out on the dance floor, gonna knock you off your feet. Her favorite song is on the jukebox, her favorite drink is in her glass. Her favorite song is on the jukebox, her favorite drink is in her glass. She drinking Tanqueray tonic, that's how you know that she's high class. Yeah, going down to Kentucky, down to Taylor Mill. Going down to Kentucky, down to Taylor Mill. Heading south through Cincinnati to see that gal they call Lucille. Thank you very much. It's been a lot of fun. And, thanks for going easy on me. I'll see you this Friday, me and Daryl at Shaker Run. Come on out. Thank you.
Little black egg. Action!
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. Nothing personal. Well, there's someone who really loves you. Guess who? Guess who? There is someone who really cares. Guess who? So open your heart and surely you will see that there's someone who really cares. It's me. Is someone who will wait.
What's going on, big man? You hollered at you.
Eternally. There's someone who needs your love so desperately. So breathe open your heart, surely you will see that there's someone who really cares.